Hi everyone, it's Sam from Greener Side of Sam. Last video I talked about what the sister can teach us in the metamorphosis, but today I want to look at the actual metamorphosis itself and how it can affect us. Now buckle up because it's going to be a little dark. Now when I say a little, I mean a lot. I believe that no one is immune to the metamorphosis. And what I explained before, that this particular metamorphosis was like a butterfly losing its wings or the ability to fly, therefore becoming like a caterpillar again. And I explained the sort of care that comes after this. When the metamorphosis happens, something in us changes, where we cannot ever go back again to how we were. This can be physical or mental. This change can be gradual or all at once. But whether it's this or that does not change that it is a significant turning point in our life, one that changes everything. Up until this point, we were thinking about going to work, doing the everyday tasks. But when I say thinking about going to work or tasks, I believe this thinking is in the mode of everydayness, as we are just living life, going through the motions. So we're not actually observing what we're doing. And these everyday things become what we are. Now, this is important because as we build who we are through these activities, other people are observing this and then putting us into a category of how much value and what kind of value we give to them. I think that at the moment of this metamorphosis, we are thrown into the mode of non-everydayness and are observing what we once were. Now, as a side note, I just had a terrifyingly beautiful thought that technically, since we are not going back in time, every moment of observation is looking at what we were and cannot be anymore, because that person is in the past and we just missed them. So we are constantly getting our wings clipped, going through tiny metamorphoses until one day there's this significant clipping of our wings so that we cannot fly and we return to the ground. The saddest part of this, and this is where the care comes in, that I should have mentioned in my other video, the saddest part of this is that only a few will still think that that butterfly who cannot fly anymore is beautiful. Before, it was easy for us because when we observed our life, we didn't really acknowledge that observation. It wasn't big enough. There seems to be a certain suffering that has to happen in order for us to observe in such a way that we see our life as it actually is. I think a good example for this idea is one that is difficult for people to talk about. Grandma used to cook and clean, so no one had to lift a finger when they went to her house. Grandma bought presents and was able to watch the grandchildren whenever her children asked her to. She always had a fantastic story to tell. But recently, Grandma hasn't been herself. Her house is a mess, and she stopped eating almost completely. She often forgets birthdays and is just too tired to watch the grandchildren anymore. Turns out that Grandma has dementia now. The children discuss what they want to do with her because, if they're being honest, their lives are much too busy to truly care. Grandma really serves no use to them now, and I think the true metamorphosis is when Grandma knows this and feels the guilt as Gregor felt the intense guilt that he couldn't take care of his family. And Grandma knows that eventually she will be looked at like a bug until she is in the ground and people remember how beautiful she used to fly. This is a problem because it leads to the disposal of people who cannot be what they once were. What makes Kafka brilliant is that I think he knew this very hard truth, and there's this layer to the truth that he is revealing. It's not about Gregor becoming a bug. It's not about the sister being the only one that cares. It is the fact that very, very few people actually care for us and vice versa. But it is even deeper than that still. I believe that this story is saying that we must find these people, because if we don't, we will face the same fate as Gregor. We will wither away, only to be thought of as the bug who was squashed, and there is a sense of relief instead of what should be deep love that continues on. This is why it is so important to know who is in your corner, who has the patience and genuine kindness to look at you in your moments of decay and say, I still care. I still love you, even though you are not the same as you once were. And even though all of this can be terrible to think about, I think it is just as beautiful. Beautiful because you finally see life as it is, and because of that, you can be in this mode of discovery. Look at people and say, who makes me feel safe, physically, emotionally? Who makes me feel wanted and valued and doesn't want to talk to me because I can give them something, but because they genuinely enjoy who I am as a person? Who could I call in the middle of the night in distress and they would drive 10 hours to help? I think starting a journey to find people like that is inspiring. That is why I've come to love this story. In reading it, I've not only learned more about human nature, but so much more about myself as well.